okay with all the answers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody has any questions? I mean, I actually had a question about this thing, the extra expense and profit. So I think the example he used for the extra expense, which actually, applies to the profits. Because you own a restaurant, like a coffee shop, which is a small, or, like not like franchise or anything like that. And if you're out of business for 6 weeks, when you open up, you will be losing your clients. And for that, you will have to make some extra expense. So that comes
back to business.
To get the business back.
Yeah.
So is that going to be a part of profits, or actually it should be a part of profits, right? Not expense, because extra expense means, I have to prepare a different location, have extra staff to get it ready, or when I reopen and everything. I think those are the extra expenses, like marketing strategy and everything. I'm kind of confused between those two.
Yeah, that sounds great, but
I think profits is like for long terms, that you're going to continue with long term, and extra expenses is like you make some extra expenses of keeping overtime employees and having a different location, pay rent for that, and somehow run the business. And I don't know, but it is kind of tricky. I'm just gonna go by the book and read, just cram the words. But if you have any clarity and if you want to throw light on that, because that's something is still confusing me.
So what I'm thinking, the key difference between two of them is the profit approach is when you have your business after the loss, your business is reopened. Okay, and extra expenses, you occurred a loss, and now you want extra expenses to reopen it. So if you see the example of brokerage fire insurance.
No, I see your point, Naveed, but he used the example of like a restaurant where your reputation, because you lost your client to somebody else. Like if you have a haircut, right? If you are out for 6 weeks,
you are already operating and you occurred a loss, but profit is something which you reopen
and still occur a loss for a long time.
Yeah, and
okay.
Then you reopen. So the example of that coffee shop who was selling, or the petrol station who was selling for cheaper rates, or the brokerage fire insurance, it's all an extra expense, where they were incurring extra expense to run their business, keep running it, bringing it back to the normal. So that's about it. So what time are we meeting again? 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock, yeah.
2 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sending him a message. I might be late a bit, because I've got a couple of other things coming up right now. So yeah, I'll be sending him a message. Okay,
okay.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you very much, Chantal. How are you?
Good.
Just give me 1 minute so I will get the headphone.
I've never used Zoom before, but it looks pretty easy so far.
Oh, you haven't used Zoom before?
No, but I've used Microsoft Teams quite a bit and Skype for Business, so seems
Yeah,
pretty similar.
this is going to be really easy. I have made you the host as well. So you will be able to share screen and, take away from here. And there would not be any issues. So we are still waiting we'll still give a couple of minutes. We'll have more members coming in. Some of them might be late as well. It's a working day, right? So, not everybody will be available, but yeah, we will still have around 25 to 30 people for sure.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much, first of all, for taking the time out of your schedule. Right now you guys are really busy, right? Hello?
It's finally slowing down. It was yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very
Richard?
clearly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's been a bit busy. It's been super busy because I've been supporting Montreal as well. So it's been crazy, but it's dying down. December us is always very slow. So we don't hire typically during the holidays. So
But you
this
have been
one's a
in
bit of a
Moncton for
break,
like
so it gives
10
me time to
years. Yeah. And have you seen things changing like dramatically right now in last couple of years? Like from applications you are receiving and
Oh yeah. Well, over the years, I mean, like 10 years ago, we had like a lot of applicants. Um, Not as much as now during this pandemic, and then it went down a curve where we barely had anyone applying, maybe like 20 people applying. And now we're up to like 400 or 500 people applying per position. So that's due to the pandemic. I see it next year dying down probably. There's been a lot of layoffs, right, in Moncton, unfortunately. But it's not the same experience across Canada, though. In Montreal, we have very, very low applicant pools, for example. Depends of the location, how the pandemic has affected different location, right? For us, there's been a lot of layoffs, so more applicants for me at Rogers. This is a good thing, but not a very good thing for the people that lost their employment, right? Versus in Montreal, less layoffs, and they've been getting less and less applicants because it's hard to change jobs at this time of year, right? With a pandemic going on, it's a bit of a risk. It's scary for people, so less people are applying typically.
Sure, just give me 1 minute. It looks like some of them are having issues with the password. Let me check. There shouldn't be a password being asked. All right. I think it's 2 p.m. Some of them might be late, but I think I should let you start the webinar and they will be joining in later on.
Okay.
Or you think we should wait for 5 minutes? I leave it on you.
We can wait for one more minute, maybe. For me, it's showing 1:59, so
Yeah.
could wait one more minute to make sure everyone joins in, or even two.
Certainly.
Maybe while we wait for everyone, there's a couple people I see is logged in. Anyone want to share what they want to gain from this workshop today? Just put it in the chat perhaps so I can see it.
Hello.
Yes, hi.
Yeah. Hi. I am audible.
You are, yes, Akshit.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard. Thanks, actually. So I want to know that what are the different fields in which jobs are easily available in in the mountain market, or what skill sets are there in demand as such. See.
Well, that's not something I'm going to go over today, right? This is more of a workshop in regards to resume and interviews. Skills and demand in Moncton, I don't know. I could answer you in regards more directly to Rogers, since I work for Rogers. So for us, it's mainly frontline. We put a freeze on any corporate roles this year. So it's mainly frontline roles, meaning like servicing the customers in the stores or servicing the customers over the phone, either in tech support or customer service.
All right.
But for the market itself in Moncton, I'm not sure. That's not something I've researched in recently.
All right. Okay.
The question,
Are
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Rishi.
Yeah, so the question we have been asked mostly is like, because most of the newcomers who are coming from outside the country, they already have some qualifications, but they have to redo the resume as per the Canadian style. So in order to be hired, because the resumes back in India are like, like say for India, an example, are really broad and everything. The work responsibilities are different. The way people work here are different. And the key terms we are looking for, or as an employer you are looking for, would be different from what we would have somewhere else. So, those are the main things that, if they can get some guidance on,
Yeah,
especially how
exactly.
to
So
use the
that's what I'm.
transferable
Yeah.
skills. Like right now, I'm in
Yeah.
banking.
Yeah. You said it right, Richard. Yeah.
Like you are working in a different position, but now you have to get some transferable skills that will help you get a job. That is a difficult task, right now, because
So let's hope with this little workshop that it helps you guys fill those gaps. So I don't know how resumes look in your own country. So that's also, you'll see how what I as a recruiter, as recruiters at Rogers, we want to see on resumes, and that's usually universal for other recruiters within the country. So let's start. I think it's a good time now. It's 2 or 3. What do you think, Rishi?
sure, yeah. You are the host, so you'll be able to share the screen.
Okay, perfect. Um, so let's share my screen here. Let's share here. Share. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay. Just give me 1 sec. There's like a little pop-up from you guys that pops up here for me. So I just want to see what this is. New to Zoom here.
I think Ketan asked a question, which is a very nice question, that how comfortable the skilled labor market is open to accept international students, because you might have seen there are too many international students studying right now in NBCC, Crandall, and other universities. So, as an employer,
Well,
how
I
open are
can't.
you to?
Well, like I can't speak for other employers. That's the thing, right? Like I can say that one of our main criteria at Rogers is to diversify our workforce. So we're very open to it. Um, for students, we have the new grad program. That's something that you guys can participate in. It's going to be coming this summer to the Atlantics. In the past, it was mainly in the other regions like Ontario and out west, but it's coming to the Atlantics in August next summer for the new grad program. So that's for students if they want to look into that. But yeah, I can't really speak for other employers, unfortunately. So let's start the workshop, guys. I think everyone's here. So hi everyone. So my name is Chantal Poirier. I'm a talent acquisition specialist for Rogers and Fido. I've been at Rogers for almost 12 years now. Been part of the recruitment team for a good 7 years. Been in and out of the recruitment team for the past 12 years. Prior to this, I handled attendance management at Rogers and also was a technical support trainer at Rogers. I also have a human resources management degree. So I just want to welcome you all to the Rogers Resume in an Interview workshop. This is a workshop that typically I give that to our internal employees. I hope it helps you guys out today and that you learn. So before we begin though, I would kindly ask everyone to mute themselves to avoid any echoes or mic feedback. And also remember to remute yourself after you've participated, okay? So if there's a few points in the workshop that I'll ask you guys to participate in. So can everyone tell me, when is the last time you have reviewed your resume? So if you go in the chat, just write, when's the last time you have reviewed your resume? So this morning, a while back, last week, every time I apply for a job, last month was the latest, yesterday evening. So quite a few different answers here. All right. So the goal of this workshop is to help you with your resume and interview skills to help you land that dream job. So when do you think you should start to work on your resume? So anyone wants to try this one? So when do you think it's time to start on your resume? Any volunteers? Rishi, what do you think?
Well, I think, anytime you're looking for an opportunity or you're looking for a job, that's the basic idea, I have, I could be wrong that, when you're looking for a job, you should be looking for it, or rightly Ketan mentioned, every time you acquire new skills, you should work on it.
Exactly. So you want to be proactive with it. So that way you're not, when there's a position that opens up or something you're interested in, you're not rushing your resume, as you may have, you may make some inconsistent errors when you're rushing, right? So for example, you may make a simple mistake of just writing the wrong bullet points on your resume. So that's not a big deal to the recruiter, but it still looks messy, right? So a little secret with resume writing is that it's hard and we all struggle with it. But today I'm here to help you and talk about what's important in the resume. I also want to empower you by giving you the tools to build a good resume. So today we'll go over the list of do's and don'ts of resume writing. I'll explain the attributes of a strong resume. We'll also practice the STAR method and we'll go over a few interview techniques. So can anyone tell me what's the purpose of a resume? Anyone wants to volunteer here? If you guys want, you can write it in the chat if you feel more comfortable writing it in the chat. It tells your story. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's part of it. Anyone else wants to try? Convinces the recruiter to hire you. So the purpose of a resume is to get you an interview, really. So most recruiters, like a little secret on the recruitment side from my side, is we don't have time to read everything on your resume, right? So most of the time we'll review your resume within 15 seconds. So a lot of information needs to be packed in a little space. So your resume should be easy to read, persuasive first, and informative second. So when you're writing your resume, just try to keep that in mind, is that the recruiter most likely doesn't have much time. They're just skimming through your resume. So in a resume, you have 4 general sections. In the contact information section, you would enter generic info like your email, phone number, home address, but make sure you don't enter a picture, marital status, number of children. So this is a big no-no. We see this often is the picture, again, the marital status and number of kids. The reason that's a big no-no is we don't want to create some type of bias with the hiring manager, okay? In the objective summary of qualification section, if you're applying for a role within the same field and have years of experience, put together a summary. If you're applying for a position in a different field, write an objective. And we'll go over that in a bit in more detail, okay, guys? In the experience section, list all pertinent roles, month and year in reverse chronological order. So you want to put all the positions you've had that are relevant to the position you're applying for, with the most recent at the top of your resume. You also want to put accomplishments for each position held. You would need to start working on your resume as soon as you have figured out that you're ready for the next step in your career. It's important to create a generic resume and adapt it to the specific role as they come. Does anyone have an objective or a summary of qualification on their resume? Anyone wants to participate here?
Jacqueline has said yes. Akshita has said yes.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you, Chantal, about that. You know, what I normally try to do is like I look into the contents or, you know, the requirements, job requirements or things that, you know, employers are looking for. And I try to, you know, take it out from my resume and see how I can match it and then try to put it in the summary. Does that help or how, what do you recommend in that?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what you want to do. You want to tailor it to it. It just depends, right? Like if you have experience in it, in the position itself that you're applying for, you want to create a summary of qualifications. I'll go in more detail there. If you don't have any experience with it, you want to create an objective more, be a bit more general there. But if you have experience in it, you want to add quantifiers and you want to also add like targets and stats that you've had and put it in your summary of qualifications. So just to, I'll go over the difference between the two. So resume objective and a summary of qualification. Well, a resume objective and a resume summary are often, they're thought to be the same. They're 2 introductory statements that should be used strategically, as both resume summary statement and objective statement serve different purposes. So the resume objective statements focuses on the job seeker's objectives. They're concise and tailored to the job you're applying to. Uses solid work experience, like I was just saying, Rishi. It uses accomplishments to prove the job seeker's value. It often includes credentials, certifications, and measurable accomplishments. So when writing an objectives or summary of qualification, try to think of 3 to 4 things that define you as a professional. This can be a strong sales record, excellent customer service, or an ability to manage large teams. These professional traits will vary according to profession and skills levels. Also think of the things you enjoy the most in your work when you write your summary of qualifications. You aren't just telling an employer what you're good at, you're also telling them what you want to do day in and day out. For example, you could say, I'm passionate about developing my team to help them enhance their sales skills, right? Also, you can align your summary statement with the company's job requirements. So once you identify it, just like you're doing, Rishi, so once you identify the skills you want to focus on, do a little research, see if they line up with the job requirement listed for the position you're seeking. For example, you could say, I'm excited about the opportunity to take my individual sales performance and team management capabilities and apply it for the enterprise business unit, right? So we want to utilize your past skills there. So that would be an effective summary statement that aligns with the job requirement since it was tailored to it. So why is this so critical? Well, it's the first thing a recruiter or hiring manager sees, right? It's right at the top of your resume. So concise but targeted summary objectives sends a strong message to the recruiter or hiring manager. So it's going to capture their eyes, right? So it's going to catch the reader's attention immediately if it's good. It ensures a clear understanding of your top selling points at a glance. This is important when the hiring manager are skimming through dozens of resumes at a time and attention spans are short. So the recruiter, not just the hiring manager, all of us, you know, we're reviewing sometimes hundreds of resumes at a time, right? So you want to make it very catchy. You want to put your strengths right at the top there and say, and kind of if you're tailoring it to what the job description is, then it tells us right away, okay, well, this person, you know, he has customer service, he has sales ability, you know, he has a will to join, he made the effort, right, to write this. It's also going to put an emphasis on your career highlights and key strengths. And it briefly communicates your professional objectives. So on this slide, we see two objective examples. So if we look at the first statement, it says to obtain a position in a large and established organization where my skills and experience can be utilized completely. So it's, would you all agree that it's very generic? Are you guys shy today? Nobody's talking.
Yes, this is generic.
Very generic, right? So,
Yes.
so it's telling the recruiter really the candidate didn't put much effort here. Most likely, this person's applying for probably a ton of jobs, different position, and they're using the same statement over and over. It's also not very persuasive because it's very common. We see this on almost every resume. So it just shows a lack of effort there. Now, if we look at the second statement, seeking a customer service consultant position with Rogers, where I may employ my strong customer retention skills along with the ability to upsell and impact the bottom line of the organization. So this statement shows effort. This candidate makes sure to tailor his statement to the role he applied for and highlighted his strength, right? He also even mentioned the company he applied for, right? So right there, I know he's not using the same statement over and over and over. So a little secret, guys, is companies, they all look for stability, right? You're looking for stability in your employer, but they're also looking for stability in their employee. So just keep that in mind also when we're applying to different positions. So a summary of qualifications, it's like a mini cover letter. On this slide, we have two examples of a summary of qualification. So I'll just read them for you. So we have first, experienced chef interested in becoming a zookeeper, tons of experience with picky clients. We need to be fed with the right food at the right time. Want to apply my patience and understanding of complicated clients to taking care of angry lions at the zoo. The second summary of qualification that I have says, known for creating and implementing training that expands team members' capabilities and instruct users on system utilization improvement, works with government, civilian, and corporate stakeholders. So which example do you think is more effective and why? I'm going to go to the chat here. So some people are saying the second one. One person is asking if a person skips the objective statement in resume, is it good or bad? Well, I'm not here to say what's good or bad. I think it's best to put something. The first one is catchy and effective since it goes directly to the job description of fitting the line. So AJ said that. So I'm on board with AJ on this one. The first one, experienced chef interested in becoming a zookeeper. I know it's a bit funny, it's a bit quirky, it's a bit out there, but you know what? It's going to catch the person's attention, right? Yes, it's slightly less serious, but you know, they're looking, this type of job that he's applying for is to be helping out animals, and so it shows someone that has maybe a sense of humor. Maybe that's something you also need for the role, right? Maybe he's working alone, so maybe this might be something that they're looking for in this role too. But they're looking for someone that can cook, right? Because he's going to be feeding animals at the zoo. So this one's definitely a better example. The other one's a bit generic. So how could we make the second one more effective? So I guess the second one, the candidate could have added some metrics here, right? We can keep it serious, that's fine. So for objectives, usually we don't have any metrics, but because this is a resume summary, we do. So a metric will help improve job seekers' accomplishment by using hard evidence like percentage, dollar amounts, or years. For example, he could have mentioned how many years of experience he has in creating and implementing training, and that would have made more of an impact there. So here are some critical do's and don't for resume writing. So whenever you're applying to a position, take a look at the job description and tailor it to your resume accordingly. This does not mean copying and pasting your job description in the resume. Instead, if there is specific requirements for the role, for example, managing end-to-end project or classroom facilitation, try and find those examples in your work experience and highlight them. Always demonstrate results and quantify them. For example, you can say you increase revenue by 15% by on-the-spot coaching, or you increase quality results by 2%. Always make sure your resume is updated and not too long. So we recommend no more than 2 pages. I know I wrote 2 to 3 here, but no longer than 2 pages, guys. 3 pages becomes a book. If you have a 3-page resume or more, you need to review it. You need to go look at it and try to edit it a bit. There's no reason a resume should be 3 pages. I think there's some questions in the chat here. Oh no, it's still about the objectives, the summary of qualities here. So always make sure your resume is updated, not too long. Sorry, I just said that. Also ensure your resume is up to date by making sure any new role projects are added to it. So that's why you want to keep up on it. You don't want to just wait last minute, because you're not going to remember everything that you've done in the past. Like, you want to, if there's something memorable that you've done recently, then add it to your resume. If there's any awards that you win, add it to your resume. Because if in 5 years from now you're looking for work, you're going to forget about those awards and those memorable moments. You might not remember what was the details of it. You might not remember what was the date of it, for example. Additionally, you want to avoid using graphics or colors on your resume unless you're applying for a position that will require you to do so, like a graphic design position, right? So sometimes it makes sense to put some graphics there, but most of the time, no. Like, if you're applying for customer service, you're applying for a management role, if you're applying for an engineering role, it doesn't make sense to have any pink and blue and graphics on your resume. So just leave that aside. Now, if you're applying for a graphic designer, that's completely different, right? So showcase your skills there. So for the work experience section of your resume, the part where you describe your past job is an important part of your application. So recruiters and hiring managers know what you did in general. Your job title more or less sums that up. If you want to stand out from the other candidates, you need to highlight your achievements, not just outline your duties and responsibilities. In other words, instead of showing what kind of work you did, prove how well you handled it. Plus, if you want your resume to land you an interview almost every time you send it, you need to personalize it every job description to match the requirements of the vacancy you're applying for, right? So you always want to match. So make sure you list your work experience in reverse chronological order, meaning your most recent jobs are at the top of your resume and least recent jobs are down below. And the reason we want it in this order, and this is universal, guys, is recruiters, when we get a resume, we're interested in what you did most recently, right? We're also interested in what's relevant to the role that you're applying for. So, you know, if you have, if you're applying, for example, I hire a lot for call center, right? So I look often for call center experience. So if you have call center experience, make it visible to the recruiter. Make sure they understand this was a call center. Could be that you worked in your own country in the call center. I may not be familiar that company is a call center with just the name. So indicate what it is then. And it can go for any role or anything like that that might help you, right? Explain what type of business it was. So on this slide, this is a great example of how you outline your experience. So here you see it shows where he worked, what city, what was the date, and then he put the he went and he put a customer service manager from this date, customer service representative from this date to this date. So he did different roles under this company. So you'll notice like everything's very clear, legible, consistent, and in reverse chronological order. This candidate also mentions his award of excellence and for what. So that's really important. You want to impress the recruiter, right? So you're selling yourself in a resume. The candidate didn't cram his work experience section with all his previous duties. So if 15 years ago you worked as a shoe salesman, you don't need that on your resume anymore, right? That's 15 years ago. Now, if you're applying to become a shoe salesman at a different store, then that's different, right? That's now becomes relevant because you have maybe 5 years of experience there. But typically you want to list only those that show how you would handle your future responsibility with ease. So if we look at this resume, it's a really good resume, but we can always do better. So instead of saying reduce turnover, he could have said improved retention from 55 to 70%. So people have a point of reference, right? So how did he improve the retention? So you want to use clear key achievements. So basically that should include the problem, the action, and the results. So that's called the power formula. So I think someone has a question. Wilben, you have your hand is raised. Wilben, did you have a question?
You hear me right now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Wilben.
Oh, I'm sorry. My microphone was mute. Hi everyone in Hi Chantal. I do have a question, and my question is regardless the job opportunity on your resume. Let's say that you've been working for someone, but it's not under your name. Is it something that you can put on your resume?
You've been working for someone, but it's not under your name?
Yes. Just to be clear, let's say that someone have a job. I'm gonna be more specific, like customer service.
Okay.
And you do have some skills, and this person you've been working for this person. So I mean, you're not working under your name. And let's say that you've been working for a couple of time, let's say 1 year. Will you be able to put that specific job on your resume?
I'm not sure if I understand your question. I'm so sorry. So you're working for someone,
Okay,
but it's
what I'm
not under
saying,
your
let's
name.
say is that John Rogers hire John for customer service.
Okay.
But since John is working at home, Jake has been working for John. Jake has been working for Rogers under the name of John. Do you actually understand? So Jake is not actually an employer of Rogers, but John is the employer. But since John is at home, Jake is actually doing the job for John right now. So
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
my question is
Um,
Jake able to actually put the experience that he actually have with Rogers on his resume?
well, no, because
you're gonna get John fired,
Yes.
and he should be fired.
no,
Yeah. If
because you're not employed by that employer. Um, yeah, so
you,
no, you wouldn't be able to do that because that employer, like, if they do a reference check, they're gonna say Joan's been working for us, not Wilbin. So and you're
however,
not.
if the job is subcontracted, then
Mm,
probably you may.
well, if you're being subcontracted, then you would put Joan, right? And then you would indicate that you're a
Yes.
subcontractor, right? So,
Yes.
so that's different, right? So you're not acting as Joan. So yes, a subcontractor, yes, definitely put that on. That's good experience, right? Or even if you're working for a third party like Rogers at one point, like there's lots of call centers that do this. Bell, Rogers, Fido, you can indirectly work for them, right? So you want to put the third party company that you're working for, but you can indicate your experience with the other company, if that
Oh,
makes sense.
one more question. I'm sorry to interrupt you. For example, as you said, I've been working for a company in the state, but I've been working for a third party company.
Okay.
So should I put the name of the company in the state, or should I put the third party company as
So
my employer?
you would put the
Third part.
third party company because the third party company is your employer, the one paying you. But you can indicate in your resume, though, if it's a big company that you're working through a third party provider through, you can indicate it in your resume, though, that you have experience with them, as long as your employer allows you to divulge that information, right? Some of them have some constraint there where legally you can't discuss that you were supporting those third party companies, right? So you want to keep that in mind as well.
Completely understand. Thank you so much.
So in the case of that, there's the third party company A that I was technically employed by, but I'm subcontracted out to company B, the big known company that was using company A to find staff. So how would I actually write that exactly?
So a staffing company hired you through for the other company, is that it? So you
Yes,
have
basically.
and you have to pay a percentage to them. Then that's different. You would say that you're working for the company themselves then, because you're being paid by the company, but you have to give a percentage of your pay to.
No.
Okay,
I didn't
it's different, your
it's
situation.
yeah, so it's just simply, it really was simply that company B needed staff but didn't have they couldn't officially get somebody, so they got a staffing company to basically temp somebody in. Yes.
Okay,
Wasn't
well,
entirely
you would
yeah.
indicate whoever is doing payroll for you would be your
Correct.
employer.
But then
basically.
I want to mention the big company's name, right?
Yeah,
Because these are the
you
ones who I
can
know. But how would
exactly.
I write it is my question.
You can just parentheses it, like you can just put, let's say it's
Customer
just
service manager with company A, bracket, subcontracted company B.
exactly.
Okay.
So, and that should be clear enough to the recruiter, and too, like the recruiter, it's just that it catches their attention, the resume. They're going to probe more when they get to talk to you, and you can explain at that point. You'd get that opportunity. But yes, it's not a bad idea if this company is giving you the right experience for the role that you're applying for, to indicate that you were subcontracted for them.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. So can anyone tell me what is a job interview? Any volunteer here?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. From my point of view, I believe a job interview should be when you get to speak with the recruiter, by explaining the experience and the skills that you actually have.
Kinda, but it's a two-way conversation, right? So it's really a conversation in which you and the employer exchange information. So you want to learn as much as possible as well about the employer, not just it's not a one-way conversation, right? So the employer is trying to find out what you have to offer. So they're looking, at your skills, abilities, knowledge. They want to know really who you are, your personality, your character, and your interests. But on the other hand, on your side, do you want to learn, is this company the right fit for me as well, right? So the recruiter, the person interviewing you, hiring manager, recruiter, should be giving you also some information about the company as the interview progresses, right? So you both should be learning about each other. So normally when you make a decision of going to another to taking a position, you want to know what you're getting yourself into. Is this the right fit? And vice versa. So you're both interviewing each other in a way. Okay.
I have a
Um,
question, Ms.
yeah.
Chantal. Despite learning about the company, let's say that you have seen some bad reviews on internet about the company. Is that something that you can ask the recruiter? Like pushing a question about the bad reviews that you have seen on the internet while you actually have a job interview?
You can wait maybe like if you feel that review might be valid, I would wait till the end of the interview to maybe broach that, right? Maybe you'll feel differently by the end of the interview, right? So you don't want to leave any negative feeling with the recruiter as well, right? So you want to be careful with those types of situation, right? Um, Definitely you have to look at perspective, right? Is this a really big company? If they're employing thousands of employees, right? Is this one-off comment, right? So for example, at Rogers, we're about 25,000 employees. So I'm sure there's some reviews out there that are not too good, but there's on the other hand, we have lots of great reviews as well, right? So you have to think of perspective, right? If this is a small mom and pop shop, that might be different, right? Like if you see 5 different bad negative review, they're starred 1 star, you may want to probe a bit, but again, if you be careful forming yourself an opinion before joining the interview, right? It's good to do research. Just let them present themselves, meet with them, and if you still have that inkling, that doubt, then ask. But I would wait towards the end. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so to improve your comfort and increase your confidence, it's really important to prepare ahead of your interview. So what you should do to prepare for an interview before, so it's say like, well, Ben, I was saying, do your homework, right? So do your homework, review the job description in detail so you understand it inside and out, okay? It's also worth researching news or activities relating to the specific industry, as this shows interest. So be sure to research, do some research on the company you applied to as well, right? Who are they? What do they stand for? What are their core values, right? Do they match your core values? Prepare a list of reasons you are interested in the job and what motivated you to apply. Prepare stories from previous positions. So before you interview, think back to your previous positions, to memorable situations that you excelled in. So use them as examples to answer certain questions. Also try to conduct maybe a mock interview. Just find someone you trust who has experience in interviewing and conduct the mock interviews. If you don't know anyone that has experience interviewing, you can use your spouse, use your mom and dad, like anyone. So just prepare questions for them to ask you that are related to the role that you're applying to. And just encourage them to find or come up with additional questions as well without telling you what they are. At the end of the interview, take any feedback they have on improving your performance. So don't forget to ask them feedback. So prepare your questions in advance. So when you're asked by the interviewer, if you have any questions, just have a few ideas up your sleeve. This demonstrates that you're prepared, enthusiastic, and committed to the role and the company. So I think I have a question here. Ashkir, where you can sell yourself, telling about your skill set and experience.
No,
Akshit, yes.
it's an answer for your previous question. What is
Oh,
job
okay.
interview?
Sorry, guys, I'm not used to using Zoom. I usually use Microsoft Teams, and this thing just it randomly will pop up and say there's chats in there. All right, let's continue here. So what's the interviewer assessing? So this is really important, right? So they're looking at experience and skills, and they look at if you're a good match for the job requirements. For me, the biggest thing I look at is attitude. And when talking with different recruiters across the country, colleagues of mine, this is one that we all have in common, is we always look at attitude, because our train of thought is you can learn skills. You can learn pretty much anything if you have the right attitude, right? So we're looking at positive people usually, but we're looking for someone that's confident, not arrogant, eager, not desperate, and friendly, not familiar. So if you're joining the interview and calling me yo off the bat, it's not a good sign, right? And that's happened. We also look at communication skills. Is the candidate listening to the questions? Are they speaking clearly, not rambling? So that's something to be careful about, is rambling in interviews. I know often it's due to nerves, so try to gather your thoughts before the interview. Try to write down what you'd like to say, so that way you don't ramble on, because that happens quite often, and that's just usually, I think it's lack of preparation there. Additionally, we'll observe body language, if the candidate is dressed appropriately. So if you know you're having like a Microsoft Teams or Skype or Zoom interview, right? One thing I would say to people is keep in mind what's your background behind you, right? If your room's all messy, it's not a good sign to, like, it doesn't look professional. Wear some pants, guys. Don't forget, like, you may accidentally get up from your chair at one point, right? If and I see someone's asking me if age is a factor. No, age should not be a factor. Should never be a factor. That's just so you know, that's illegal in Canada for anyone to ask you your age in an interview. So the person who asked me that question, did you want to elaborate a bit more on why you were worried about the age? No. I see two people have raised their hands here. Will Ben and Ashkia, was there something you wanted to add?
I mean, I do have a question about the interview, specifically about doing interview by phone. My question is there's a difference between doing the interview in person and by the phone, and what could be the difference?
Well, for a recruiter's perspective, over the phone, You know, we don't have the body language, we don't have the eye contact, versus over video, we see the body language, we see the eye contact, we see if the person made an effort in their appearance, right, to dress appropriately for the interview. We're not looking for people, and it depends, and you want to dress appropriately based on the roles you're applying for, right? So if you're applying for a management position, wear a suit. If you're applying for a customer service position, at that point, dress nicely, wear a dress shirt, wear dress pants. Not necessarily, you don't need a suit and tie there, right? So you want to look at the other people that work there, how are they dressed, right? Sorry, I kind of derived there, Wilbin. Did I answer your question about the difference between the two?
I mean, it's not a problem. The question was related basically, what could a recruiter am looking for in a person by phone and in person? I know in person it basically like the way that you are, the way that you dress, but in phone it's kind of different because the recruiter is not able to see you. So in these cases, is it the way that you were so positive, confident that the recruiter is looking for? I mean,
So the
what
recruiter,
is the key
depending,
print?
yeah, well, depending on what the role is, right? They may be looking at many things here. Obviously, the key ones are really over the phone, you know, friendly attitude. You need to be confident. It just really depends on what the role is and what the questions the recruiter's asking you. But really, they're looking at attitude. That's an easy one to see over the phone. But many things will be. It just really depends. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I could tell you what I look for in someone in I don't know, a technical support role, right? So
What you're looking for?
well, I'm looking for someone, again, clear communication, someone that has good customer service, but also good technical skills, someone that has a good attitude, someone that talks positively about their past employer, someone that has a bit of experience also in both types of field. And someone that has good listening skills, right? They're answering the questions that I'm asking, they're paying attention, they're not making me repeat the same questions over and over. So things like that can be determined over the phone. We'll move to Akshia. You have a question as well?
Hi.
Yes, hi.
Sorry. So my question is, would it be considered too straightforward to ask questions such as what would the salary be and what benefits would the role entail? And if yes or no, when would the right time be to ask these questions? During the interview, after, or should we wait for the interview to finish and get back to them?
So definitely it depends. You want the timing to be right? So you want to do it smoothly. So typically the best time to ask this type of questions are more towards the end of the interview, right?
Right.
If the salary is a deal breaker for you, maybe that's something you want to address right before the start of the interview at that point, right? You don't want to waste anyone's time. So if you think the salary is going to be a deal breaker, then that's what I would recommend, is you talk about it right away. If it's not a deal breaker, wait till the end. Sorry, there's a bit of echo here. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
AJ, you also had a question? AJ, you had a question? Okay, so we'll move along here.
Actually, can I have I have a couple of questions if you don't mind?
Yes, go ahead. I think we're a bit short on time here, guys.
Oh, sorry. First off, I don't even see where the raise hand option is, but okay. Sorry to jump in. You were going to say something? Sorry.
Well, let's hold on for the rest of the. We'll ask some question at the end because we're kind of running late on time here.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys.
Can I email you maybe afterwards? I know that's.
Yes, let's. Yeah,
I'll come back to it. Maybe we'll have a few minutes at the end, but right now we're a bit running late here.
Okay.
But yes, definitely you can email me.
Thank you.
yes.
So the type of questions you might get in an interview are behavioral, situational, and open close questions, guys. So behavioral interview questions are questions that focus on how you've handled different work situations in the past to reveal your personality, abilities, and skills. So here's an example. Give me an example of a time when you were not meeting your targets. What was the situation? What did you do to turn things around? So be prepared for those types of those types of questions. While situational questions are based on hypothetical situation, for example, what would you do if you got this job that you are applying for? What would your first 90 days look like? Please outline your action plan. So if you guys are looking for management position, this is a very, very typical question they will ask in management. So you want to be ready for that one. As for open close questions, those are easy. They're designed to elicit just a yes or no question. For example, do you like to work in partnership with others? So that just requires a yes or no. So for behavioral questions, you want to use the STAR interview method. It's a technique that helps candidates prepare for behavioral interviews. So for the STAR stands for a situation that the candidate faced, the task that was required, the action the candidate took, and what was the results or outcome achieved. So this method will help you prepare clear and concise response using real life example. So make sure the stories that you do share have a defined situation, task, action, and result, and showcase the skill and abilities most relevant to the job. So just make sure that your answers are honest and that you're sharing only positive outcome, right? If you're sharing an outcome at the end that was negative, that's not a great example. They're going to think, okay, well, they can't handle this type of situation, right? So make sure you're using a situation that you did resolve at the end. So consider writing your stories down and practice saying them out loud. So you want to just prepare ahead of time. Just write a couple scenarios ahead of time, maybe 4 or 5. That will help you out. So that's what I usually tell the candidates I do interview that move forward is make sure you prepare some behavioral questions, some situation you had with, different situation you had with customers or a different situation you had with that are related to the role. So here are some universal classic questions that are a good idea to prepare for prior to an interview. So at the top of the list, we have, tell me about yourself. So it's often the first questions to be asked in an interview. It's your big chance to make a first impression. So keep it focused and short, ideally less than a minute, no more than 2 minutes. So this is where I say, like, don't ramble on, guys. Like, just the best thing to do is write it down first. That way, it's time. You've said what you want to say if you write it down first. So the formula, I have a little formula to help you guys out on how to answer this. So first, I say talk about the present. So talk a little bit about what your current role is, the scope of it, and perhaps a big recent accomplishment. Talk about the past. Tell the interviewer how you got there, or mention previous experience that's relevant to the job and company you're applying for. And talk about the future. Segue into what you're looking to do next, why you're interested in this job, and a great fit for it too. And a good place to end it, because I find a lot of people don't know how to end this question. So a good transition, I would say, is just say, this is why I'm here, right? So you want to be absolutely certain your interviewer is left with the impression that it makes sense that you're sitting here and talking to them about the role. So another common question to prepare for is, what is your strength and what would be an area of improvement? So weakness, right? So as you prepare your answers, turn your weakness into a challenge that you've overcome, okay? And your strength into a reason you're a great fit for the job. Again, you're selling yourself, right? Here. So don't go in. A big faux pas, I would say, is someone that says they have no weakness, right? They have no area of improvement. That's not believable. And everyone needs to improve somewhere, right? So that may show to the interviewer that you're arrogant if you go in and say, I have nothing to improve, right? You could be the best of best. You could be the CEO of the company. You probably still have some things to improve. If it's something simple, you need to improve your email management, right? Then say that and explain how you intend to improve it. So you don't want to just say, I want to improve this and leave it at that. You want to say, this is what I plan to do. This is what I'm working on right now. And this is how I'm going to improve it. Also, ensure to prepare for behavioral questions. So the last 4 questions on the slides are common behavioral questions asked by interviewer. So tell me about a time when you were challenged by someone on the team. What was the situation? How did you react? Give me an example of a time where you're not meeting your assignment targets and when end was closed. What did you do to turn things around? Give me an example of a time when you had to turn down a request from a client. What was the situation? What did you do? Last one, tell me about a time when you weren't able to overcome a challenge. So these are all behavioral types of questions. So I'm hoping after this workshop that you guys are able to list the do's and don'ts of resume writing, explain the attributes of a strong resume, practice the STAR method, and list interview techniques. I have a few more minutes, guys. I think I have another presentation right after this presentation. I have a few more minutes. I know we went over the time. If you guys have time, I have 4 minutes that I can answer questions if you have any questions for me. If you have any questions, just you can put your hand up if you want. Jacqueline, I know you had questions earlier.
Yeah, but I don't wanna monopolize you. I'll just email you. But thank you very much, anyways.
No, it's not a monopolize. I have a few more minutes, guys. It doesn't.
Well, I have like 10 questions.
How about you give me one to start off with?
All right. So I guess it's something that you didn't really cover, so I can do that. I have a lot of jobs that are like 1 year to 1.5 years long. How badly does that reflect? Yeah.
So it depends. What were the reasons? It doesn't look good. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yes.
It doesn't look good. So if someone sees that on your resume, it depends on, and that's the thing where a good recruiter will still call you and probe, right? But if the recruiter has 400 applicants, right, and they see someone has more stability, they're probably going to go and call that person with more stability over you, right?
Right.
But if they have a bit less applicants, they may call you, and then often the story is not negative. It's just,
yes,
sometimes people have bad luck, right? They got laid off due to the company closing, or lots of different reasons, right? Or they moved, or so maybe you want to say, if all these reasons you want to share, you can share like why it ended, like briefly though, on your resume.
On the resume. So like in the last point, like company closed.
Exactly. It's simple, but then it's clear to the recruiter, okay, like this person didn't get fired to 5 different jobs in the past like 7 years, right?
That's basically it. And because like I moved to Canada, for example, I was in limbo for quite a while because I wasn't sure about my application. So I was job hopping kind of thing. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if I can just put simple, all right, cool.
Yeah, you would just put a brief little saying at the end, and that will pique the recruiter's interest. And like I said, the recruiter, when they interview, they'll probe a bit more there, right? So that's why you don't have to write a chapter, but you can write a little brief.
So somewhere along the same lines, sorry again, what if you left because the company was not entirely, I've had very bad luck with companies. A lot of them have been not very nice to their staff or downright illegal behavior. So I'm not sure how I would handle that when asked about it in an interview or on the resume. It's like you never talk bad about the previous company, but there really is no other reason why I left. It's I couldn't deal with the
Keep in mind that if it's a local company, right?
That would also be another problem, but not always. I have a lot of overseas experience, so that's fine.
Well, so if it's a local company, just keep in mind that the recruiters, they talk to many people from the area, and often the recruiters know the reputation of certain companies locally.
Right.
If that makes sense. So if it's a local company, for example, I'm in Moncton, so if it's in Moncton, I kind of know some issues with some companies already because I've heard it so many times, right? And it's always the same. So you can rest assured that sometimes we do know. It's a tricky one. It's a really tricky one, Jacqueline, because you wouldn't want to put anything, say, illegal matters or anything like that on your resume, right? Because yeah, it's a tricky one. So maybe you don't put the reason there. You just say, you just leave a little note to say you'll discuss if asked, you know.
Well, sometimes it's also like come up at an interview, and
Yeah.
then I don't really want to discuss this.
No, you can be truthful if you got hired somewhere and you realize that we're doing things that were not legal and you laugh. It shows integrity, right? You can say that's the reason. You just as I said, the best thing to do with those situations is you want to write down your answer ahead of time, how you want to best answer it, right? So that way you're not rambling on and on and on as well about the experience, right?
Yes.
Because that's one thing that can occur sometimes with a bad experience is
you just start venting, which is bad.
Exactly. So maybe you want to write down your answer and get your thoughts aligned. Like, this is what I want to say. So when you're asked that question, you know exactly how to answer it.
Right. Okay. Sorry.
But you want to be truthful, you know.
All right. I think AJ has a question on chat. Sorry.
Yes, AJ. So so AJ, sorry, my microphone has some issues. My question was whether an overly qualified by experience qualification person can apply for a junior role, how to approach the situation in the resume. So that's a really good question. So thanks for asking that, AJ. Very good question. So what I would say to that is you want to, where we talk about the summary of qualification, you want to indicate there why the change, why you want to make that change, right? What's going on, right? So I don't know if overseas, AJ, you were a doctor, you moved to Canada, you don't have the qualifications to be a doctor in Canada, for example. So you have past experience in management, so you want to get back to management because you used to do that. So then you want to just put it in your summary, why the life change, why are you having this life event, right? It could be a life event for different reason, right? Like it could be that I'm just thinking of someone in my situation. I've been a recruiter for many years. I might be someone that, I'm a mom now and I want less responsibility. I want to focus more on my family, just go to work and at the end of my day want to be done with my job, like less of a corporate role. So you can word that nicer than what I just said. But, you kind of want to put it right there in the summary, why life change. You can even also write a cover letter, right? That kind of explains why you're making such a change in your life. And when you do your resume, utilize your experience that you've had in the past with the other role that you're saying is more experience with the junior role, right? So if it's a customer service role you're applying and you used to work in engineering, but you did a lot of customer service in engineering, that you were dealing with a lot of internal clients, for example, bring that in your resume. Does that make sense? And then deep free, sorry, someone was going to speak. Did someone else have a question?
Yes, I think Deepri has a question about international experience. So I think you can, do you consider all overseas experience?
If so I always look at it as a plus. Again, I hire for call center mainly, guys. I used to hire for retail. So Definitely call center experience overseas is a big plus. Like I value that as much as call center experience in Canada. So to me, that's pretty equal, because the reason I value call center experience is call center has a lot of goals and targets and metric to meet, and that's pretty universal from Canada to India to the Philippines. It's pretty universal, I would say. And so to get someone that's already kind of used to those types of goals and targets really helps them out to start off. But again, you know, one point I had made earlier is you want to indicate on your resume what type of company you were working for, right? Like this was a contact center, this was a retail, this was hospitality, this was a hotel, this was, you know, it helps the recruiter versus here in Canada, like more locally, if you put certain companies here, I know them all by heart. I don't need that much detail, but I would say with someone who's a newcomer, the recruiter may need a bit more detail what type of company that is, because if they Google it, they might not be able to see what type of company it was either. So keep that in mind. That might help as well. I'll have to end this here, guys. I'm really sorry.
Sure. Thank you very much.
I have another, I actually have another presentation I have to run to. This was fun. I hope it was helpful. Rishi has my email. Just if there's anything, just reach out, okay?
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chantal. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.